to the SUPES channel. My name is Matt Ramos, and on this channel I aim to entertain, inform, and inspire using the topic of discussion as always, which is superheroes! What an episode! What a freaking episode! Shout out to all of you guys who tuned into the WandaVision episode 5 live watch party right over here on the YouTube channel. I appreciate all of you guys for tuning in, because that was seriously, I'm not even playing, that was seriously one of the greatest just superhero superhero entertainment moments I've ever experienced in my life. To be able to experience this episode with you guys, with like literally, at one point we had 5,000 people live on the stream. So to be able to experience that with every single freaking one of you guys, it was truly one of the greatest moments of my life, and I thank every single one of you. Now in today's video, we're gonna break down all of the craziness that went down in WandaVision episode 5. But right before we do that, guys, make sure to stay tuned to the end of the video for giveaway details, because I'm giving away a freaking PlayStation 5. Now, let's hop into the WandaVision episode 5 breakdown. So before I get into breaking down the hidden details and the Easter eggs that some of you guys might have missed, I want to talk about my two favorite scenes in this episode. The first scene is the scene where we see Wanda literally take the fight to sword and walk out of the Hex and goes straight at them. We see Wanda is in her Avengers Endgame costume. She has her accent, and this isn't Wanda, my friends. This right here is Scarlet freaking Witch, with no remorse for anyone. She was literally about to kill all of these sword agents. She was about to kill Monica, and Wanda gave them a warning, and she made it very clear that if you mess with my family, if you mess with my home, I will come after you, and I won't stop. And oh my gosh, seeing Wanda in this scene, and seeing kind of like just the mask finally taken off, because up to this point, we've seen the whole Wanda in this entire alternate reality, and we've seen her put up this mask, living this fake life that she wishes was real. But this right here was a Wanda that was raw, a Wanda that was real, a Wanda that was, genuine. And seeing her and how broken she was, it really showed us how lost she really is at this point. As much as we all love Wanda, and she's in pain, but she's turned. She's lost it. She's lost control, and now that she's attacked Sword, and Sword knows what they're dealing with, and Sword failed at stopping Wanda, Sword is calling reinforcements as we speak. Reinforcements will be called. It's not time for any more sword agents with guns. It's time for starters. It's time for Avengers to show up to the damn party. And that's why I think moving forward, we're definitely gonna see some more Avengers. We're gonna see Hawkeye. We're gonna see Doctor Strange. We're gonna see Captain Marvel, who was mentioned in this episode. And in a second, we're gonna talk about a huge reveal that happened in this episode of a special someone. But I think it's very safe to say, guys, that nothing is off the table. No one is off the table. We're dealing with the multiverse here. Literally, anyone you can fathom that exists in the Marvel universe, Marvel multiverse, they can come back. They can be in this show. And that was one of the big takeaways of this episode, is that Marvel isn't pulling any punches. They're bringing all of their guns to the party, and I would expect some major cameos, major appearances to happen later on in the show. But now moving on to the main reveal of the show, the freaking ending. The ending that saw both Wanda and Vision literally going head to head. First of all, I loved Vision in this episode. I love how Vision is questioning everything. I love how Vision is calling out Wanda on her BS, and he's not afraid to do it. Vision just feels so humanized in this show, and I'm in love with it, man. I really love Vision's character in this show, and I'm excited to see how he continues to stir the pot moving forward, because he seems to be the only one in this alternate reality that's interested in finding out what's really going on. So next episode is the Halloween episode. We know how big that episode is probably going to be for Vision, because we've seen that scene multiple times in the trailers where he's, in his, traditional MCU attire, and then he awakens Agnes, and then Agnes tells him that he's dead. So we've also seen a couple of other shots of Vision approaching the border, saying, "What is outside of Westview?" And we're getting that next week, man, with episode 6. But now let's talk about the craziest reveal, the ending of the show. Evan Peters is back. And it's very important to note that I don't think this is the X-Men version of Quicksilver. I feel like they made that pretty clear with his introduction in this episode. Even though it's Evan Peters as Pietro, I want to know a couple of very important things. Yes, he does look very similar to the Quicksilver in the Fox X-Men movies. But that could also be because it's the 80s in this episode. And, you know, that made sense that they introduced this version of Quicksilver during the 80s episode. But it's something I never expected to happen so early on. But, yeah, so he looks very similar to the X-Men from the Fox movies. But he talks completely different. And now moving forward, he's going to dress completely different because time is moving on. But I do think this is a new version of Quicksilver. This isn't the Quicksilver from the Fox X-Men movies because, you know, Darcy said it herself. Wanda has recasted Quicksilver. She's recasted Pietro. And it's very important to note that I don't think that's the case. I don't think Wanda is the one who recasted Pietro. I think this is Mephisto, whoever's pulling the strings behind the scenes, whoever's the higher power controlling everything else. Because as much as Wanda controls so much in this alternate reality, there's some things that she doesn't control. She doesn't control the kids, and that's super important. That was one of the biggest things that stood out to me in this episode, right off the jump, is that Wanda can't control the kids. This leans into the theory that the kids are shards of Mephisto. The kids are literally parts of Mephisto's soul. Therefore, Wanda can't control the kids the same way she wasn't able to control the stork in episode 3. So I don't think this version of Quicksilver that we see here in this episode is the Fox X-Men Quicksilver. I think this is a new version of Quicksilver entirely constructed for the show WandaVision. And this is going to be a crazy theory, guys, but hear me out. And there is evidence to this. In the scene where we see Pietro walk in the door, you can see this single shot of a mirror. And in the mirror, you can see Pietro's hand, and his hand is clearly red. You can compare the red hand to Wanda's skin. You can even compare it to Pietro's skin on his face. But in the mirror, there is a red hand. And I know that it's his hand because you could literally see the bomber jacket that he's wearing. And some people are saying it's Vision, but Vision was behind Wanda. Vision was nowhere near close to the door. Vision wasn't in front of Wanda, as we clearly see in this image of Pietro in the mirror with a red hand. Now that tells me a lot of things. One, I think this means that the Pietro we see here, played by Evan Peters, is Mephisto. And I know that's crazy to say, but again, we have that red hand in that mirror, which means something. And Marvel is so good at placing these little things here and there that are going to get paid off later on in the show. And with this being a version of Quicksilver that isn't Wanda's creation, I want to make that very clear. Even though Darcy said she recasted Pietro, Wanda didn't recast Pietro, because guess what? When he showed up at her doorstep, she was just as surprised as we were when she opened the door and it was Evan Peters instead of, maybe Aaron Taylor Johnson. So I do think this is Mephisto disguised as Quicksilver. And again, it's very early on to tell. He just got introduced. So I'll come back to that theory once we see him in the next episode and see how he interacts with Wanda, the kids, Agnes, just to get to know more of his character and how he interacts in social settings. That'll tell us a lot. Again, our sus detectors have been going off for multiple characters, and I want to see if it goes off in the next episode with this version of Quicksilver. But regardless, it was so insane, man. That reveal, I thought when we heard that doorbell, I thought it was Agnes at the door. But then, obviously we heard the sirens going off in the real world with S.W.O.R.D. and she opened that door and we saw that silver hair, and I was just like, there's no way. There's no way. It's only episode 5. There's no way they introduced him this early. It's only episode 5. We all heard the rumors of Evan Peters being cast in WandaVision, but if he were to show up as Quicksilver, we all thought it was going to be like towards the end and be one of the, biggest reveals of the entire show. But this scene, Marvel's only getting started, and that gets me even more excited for what's to come for the future of this show. And guess what? Everyone was talking about the Luke Skywalker cameo that's going to happen at the end of WandaVision, and a ton of people were saying, "Oh, it's Quicksilver, it's Quicksilver." Well, guess what? When me and Brad and everyone else were saying, "Hey, this could be Tobey Maguire." When you think of someone who can compare to the Luke Skywalker cameo, Tobey Maguire is the only man that can get that job done. And a ton of people were pooping on it, saying that the reveal is going to be Quicksilver. But guess what? It's obviously not the reveal because he's already in episode 5. Marvel still has so many bombs ready to drop. And again, if there's one thing this episode taught us is that anything is possible. So I don't want to see anyone else ruling out that Tobey Maguire can't appear in the show, because anything is freaking possible. Now I want to talk about a couple of hidden details and Easter eggs, and just little things that I noticed in this episode. So when we first see Monica and she's being scanned by this sword doctor, Monica's describing the mind control that she was under while in the alternate reality. And we see literally a blink and you miss it shot of Wanda breaking down in this neighborhood. And this right here is our first shot of Wanda breaking down, creating the alternate reality. She took over this entire town and she broke down in the middle of it. And we see that happening right here in this shot. I mean, just look at her face. She stole Vision's corpse, as we found out in this episode, and she just broke down. And that's when she created this entire dome and took over this entire town. The next thing is that Monica has powers. After Monica was done getting scanned by the doctor came back and then she showed like this. We saw the scan and it showed like an outline of Monica, but it didn't show her body. It literally just showed pure energy. And this goes to tell us that Wanda gave Monica her powers. And now Monica in the comics, she becomes this character called Spectrum. She also goes off of the name Photon, which is Maria Rambeau's nickname in the MCU. So I wouldn't be surprised if she takes on the name Photon. But Photon is basically constructed of just pure energy. And we saw that here in this scene. We got it confirmed. And oh my gosh, when Monica finds out that she has powers, that is going to be one of the sickest reveals in all of the MCU. Now when we're taken back into the episode, the twins are aging like if there's no tomorrow. They're aging so fast. They went from like being babies to being 5 to being 10. Who knows how old they're gonna be by the time we get to the next episode. But we see the twins playing with like this dog in the sink, and they actually go on to name the dog Sparky. And this is a direct reference to Sparky the dog from Marvel Comics. In the comics, Sparky is actually a synthezoid that Vision created in order to reunite his family. That obviously doesn't seem to be the case here, but it was a fun nod to the comic character Sparky the dog. And then later on in the episode, we have this scene of Monica writing on this whiteboard, and she's writing down all of these different equations, and she says this one line that still hasn't left my brain, and she says, "I know a neurospace engineer who'd be up for this challenge." And there's only one man I'm thinking of right now. And there's so many different neurospace engineers in the MCU. This could be so many different people. It could be Rhodey. It could be Tony Stark. It could be Riri Williams. It could be Shuri. It could be Hank McCoy. It could be so many different people. But there's only one man I'm thinking of when she said this line. And that man is Reed Richards. Low-key in the last episode, they set up Fantastic Four by talking about the Sword Astronaut program and how it's gone up in flames. Like, it's just completely been destroyed. They lost all of their astronauts during the blip. And they low-key set up Fantastic Four. Now that she says this line, what if Monica knows Reed Richards and she's referencing him and talking about how he would be up for this challenge? The way Marvel sets up these shows, man, is just... God bless America. In this episode, we also got another infomercial featuring the same two actors that have been a part of all of the other infomercials across the WandaVision show. And this commercial has to do with like this paper towel brand, and it's called Lagos. For those of you who don't remember, Lagos is actually the city where Wanda blew up the hospital at the beginning of Captain America Civil War. Again, all of these infomercials have to do with some sort of trauma that Wanda has. And Lagos was definitely one of those moments where she felt super guilty and she felt like it was her fault and she felt like a monster for blowing up this hospital, killing so many different people at the beginning of Captain America Civil War in Lagos. So guys, with that being said, there's my breakdown of WandaVision episode 5. This was by far my favorite episode so far, and now moving forward, like, I don't even know where the show's going, because it's like, everything, like, it reminds me of that quote from The Ancient One, where it's like, forget everything you think you know. And that's what Marvel's telling us after every single episode. Forget what you think you know, because we come up with all these theories and we speculate, but going into the episode, man, literally, the impossible happens. What we never expected happens. So with that being said, guys, make sure to grab that subscribe button if you aren't already subscribed and hit that bell notification to get notified when these videos go up. Now guys, I've partnered with MegaCon in order to give away a PlayStation 5 and a couple of other prizes. In order to enter this giveaway, just click the link in the description of this video and you can follow the giveaway steps there. But finally, man, I've been hyping up this giveaway. It's the biggest giveaway I've ever done, and now I'm super happy to finally be able to give back to you guys and set one of you guys up with a PlayStation 5. So I'm super excited about that. Make sure to click the link in the description, enter now before it gets filled up. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time.